Why Aroldis Chapman may not be primed for the same level of success he had last year.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's completely free. So make sure that you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. This episode is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBThe.show/LockedOn and use code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Stay tuned later in the episode for our MLB Top 100 highlight. Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to today's show. So excited to have you here. So excited that the World Baseball Classic has officially arrived. Some great games already so far, and Team USA plays its first pool play game tonight. So I'm definitely really looking forward to that. But while we turn our attention to the World Baseball Classic, we can also get excited about opening day because it is just a few short weeks away at this point. And I'm really excited for the Red Sox to go and play its opening series in Cincinnati. And one thing to note is that while there are a lot of exciting things to be excited about with this Red Sox team, it's also okay to question other aspects. And one thing that I am keeping an eye on going into this season is Aroldis Chapman. Are there concerns with him going into 2026? So on today's show, I'm going to be discussing that, as well as some pros and cons with the rotating DH and the Red Sox Spring Breakout roster. So last season was no doubt one of Aroldis Chapman's best in his entire career. 5-3 record with a 1.17 ERA over 67 games that he pitched in. He recorded 32 saves over 61.1 innings pitched with 85 strikeouts and a whip of .70. Now, obviously, those numbers are fantastic and nothing that anybody would have expected going into the year last season. So I know I rattled off stats, but WHIP stands for walks plus hits per inning pitched. So this is essentially a key stat that's used to evaluate a pitcher's efficiency in preventing base runners, with a lower number indicating better performance. So it's essentially calculated as walks plus hits divided by innings pitched, with a 1.0 or lower rate often considered elite. So to put that into perspective, Aroldis in 2025 had a .7 whip, which is considered among the best. So obviously a great year for him. He was in the 98th percentile in fastball velocity as it averaged 98.8 miles an hour. He was also in the 99th percentile in strikeout percentage, 74th percentile in walk rate, 80th percentile in hard hit percentage. He was giving up a lot of weak contact, and him being well above average when it comes to his walk rate is notable because command has always been an issue for Aroldis Chapman over the course of his career. And miraculously, he was able to fix that last season. A lot of that due to Connor Wong being able to help him fix that in terms of the location of his pitches. And he was able to get a lot more grasp on the pitches he was throwing and where he was throwing them. Now, he has an arsenal of 4 pitches that he utilizes. His four-seam fastball, he uses 40% of the time. The sinker last year, he used 34% of the time. A slider, which he used 15% of the time, and a splitter that was used 11% of the time. So he executed all those pitches very well. And the biggest thing was, is he not going to give up a lot of walks and get into trouble when he's out there. And he did not do that. And that was great to see over the course of his season last year. And I really enjoyed watching him play. And he was reliable every night as the Red Sox closer. And when they brought him to Boston, I said, wow, he's older. That could be a disaster, but it ended up working out really well. And he was one of the best relievers in baseball. Now, the question going into 2026 is he going to display that same level of productivity in 2026 as he did in 2025? That's a question that a lot of people are asking right now, because overall, when it comes to Chapman and where he's at, he is on the older side. He's 38 now. So as you get older, your arm may start to be a little bit less effective, which is something that I'm keeping an eye on. So there's that alone. So if he starts to decline, that could be part of the reason why. There's the potential for his 2025 success having been a temporary fluke. For example, he did show some reduced velocity and inconsistent control over the last month or so of the season. And that's something that over the course of his career has been a bit of a concern, is him not being able to find the strike zone. And he's had past issues, including back spasms and a leg infection that he actually got from a tattoo. So those ended up raising questions about his long-term durability and reliability. So because he's dealing with those types of issues that he's been able to manage, who's to say it's not going to all catch up with him this upcoming season? So I do have my concerns in that way when it comes to Chapman. Obviously, he's had some off the field issues too that he seemingly has moved past, but you don't really know. But even just ignoring that and sticking with the on the field aspects of it, while he dominated for the Red Sox in 2025, there's no guarantee that is going to repeat itself going into this upcoming season. And obviously, I hope that I'm wrong, but projections do suggest a potential drop in performance, including a higher earned run average and lower strikeout to walk ratio compared to his 2025 performance. So obviously, we hope that doesn't happen, and we hope that he dominates in the same way that he did. But one thing I'm looking at is even over the course of the 2025 season, in the month of August, his strikeout to walk ratio was 14.0. Then in the month of September, it dropped down to a 9.0. So obviously the effectiveness was still there, but not to the same extent, because that essentially means that he wasn't striking out as many batters compared to the number of guys he was walking in that last month of the season, which is a bit of a concern that I have going into this upcoming season. So thinking about all of that together, there are certainly reasons to feel like, wow, should we be concerned about Chapman being the closer? And well, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm overly concerned, I'm freaking out, he's going to be really bad. I don't think it's going to be that extreme, but I am not super confident in his ability to be able to throw at the same level as he did last season. I mean, that's a high bar that was set, and it's really difficult to meet that again. So that's why I expect at least a little bit of a regression from him, because it's hard to match a performance so dominant like that. So that's a factor in all of this. And even if he declines a little bit, that still might be enough to where the Red Sox can't really rely on him to close consistently. And I still think he'll be effective enough in the upcoming season to where he will be able to be a solid contributor out of the Red Sox pen. The biggest question is just is it a closer role or not? Because I like the idea of Chapman in more of a setup role if he's not able to be effective as a closer anymore, because even prior to coming to the Red Sox, he was pitching as a setup man for the last few seasons prior to that. So it's not something he's not used to, and it's definitely something the Red Sox should keep an eye on. Now, if he goes into the season and makes me eat my words and is just as dominant as he was last year, then yes, he should absolutely stay as the Red Sox closer, but we definitely have to examine that other possibility of the fact that there are factors that could cause for his game to decline a little bit because he's not getting any younger. And if that's the case, maybe the Red Sox think about maneuvering their bullpen a little bit differently and maybe have Garrett Whitlock close or try Justin Slaten in that role, or just be open-minded. Am I excited about Chapman returning this upcoming season? Yes. Am I hopeful that he'll be dominant once again? Yes, of course, but there's always that risk. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But coming up, what are some of the pros and cons of the Red Sox going with a rotating designated hitter? Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs, because it actually helps you reach the people who fit what you're looking for in terms of skills, experience, location, and other factors, so that you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Less stress, less time, more results. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Red Sox. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Also, if you're looking to make lots of money the fun way, head to FanDuel, because college basketball is nonstop with big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever you feel like is best for you. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. This is such a fun time of year to bet on different sports, so I highly recommend you doing it. And also, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with me and other listeners of Locked On Red Sox. It's truly so fun in the Discord channel. A lot of people chatting about the Red Sox, so you'll have access to that if you subscribe. So tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonredsox.supercast.com to check it out and see if it's for you. There's also the all access tier where you get one-on-one texting with me directly to get all of your Red Sox related questions answered, as well as all access content that you won't find anywhere else. So make sure that you check that out and subscribe today to take your listening up a notch. Spring training is almost over. We are just a few weeks away from the Red Sox opening the series in Cincinnati, and I cannot wait for this upcoming season. It feels like it's been such a long offseason, although I feel like I say that every offseason. It's such a drag because things tend to move slowly in the baseball world and people are itching for moves and they don't always happen right away. So it definitely can be frustrating, but I am super excited to see what's in store for this Red Sox team this upcoming season. And while there's a lot to be excited about, there definitely are also some unanswered questions about this team. And we talked a lot about the pitching on this show and just how complete it feels like the starting rotation is and how the Red Sox have options there. The bullpen definitely having some question marks, but then there's the lineup and the offense, which has been a big topic of discussion all offseason among Red Sox Nation. And one of the biggest things that Craig Breslow has talked about was how he likes having the flexibility of rotating the designated hitter role. And it appears that this is going to be a situation that the Red Sox are going to be planning to go with this upcoming season. Now, last year, Masataka Yoshida was primarily the DH. They kind of pulled him from the outfield because they didn't really trust his outfield ability. So they decided that they're going to play him more as a full-time designated hitter. And that ended up working out. He was obviously hurt to start the season, and they had Rafael Devers, who was DHing, but then when they traded him and they brought back Masa, that was the role they pictured him in. But now, because of the fact that they have a lot of outfielders that they have to get into games, in order to get all of those players into games, they are going to have to DH them sometimes. And if they also like what they've seen from Yoshida so far this spring and they want to get him at bats too, then they really have no choice but to rotate that DH role again, which is certainly something that the Red Sox have talked about doing before. They've done it in the past, and I don't realistically see them going into this upcoming season with naming somebody a designated hitter. I think it's going to very much alternate based on the matchup, who's pitching that day from their opponent, and who they have to get at bats to. So this could be a scenario in which we have several players who fill that role of being a DH. So the at bats for the DH role could split among Masataka Yoshida, Jarren Duran, Roman Anthony, and potentially Tristan Casas when he comes back. And I can also add Willson Contreras to that list because the Red Sox have said that even though he's primarily going to be the team's first baseman, they also plan to get him some DH at bats too. When? I don't know. That's not my problem to figure out. But with all of those names I just listed, it's a likely possibility that all those players split DH duties, because while Cedar Rafaela is set in stone as the everyday center fielder and Wilyer Abreu is set in stone as the everyday right fielder, left field is where things get interesting because either Roman Anthony or Jarren Duran could play there. If they see them both as everyday players, then they are going to have to either commit and say, okay, Roman Anthony is going to be our everyday left fielder and Jarren Duran is going to be our everyday DH, or vice versa. And that's more of a situation where we say, okay, our primary DH, for example, is Jarren Duran, but then every once in a while we want to get Yoshida some at-bats, so we're going to mix him in there as well. Or they just split it evenly. They say, okay, so every third game, Roman Anthony is going to DH. And then on the other 2 days that he's not DHing, it's going to be either Yoshida or Duran, and they keep rotating in that manner. Now, some of the pros of that would be that it would allow them to get a lot of guys a lot of at-bats, and that's something that they've definitely been trying their best to set up and do, is to be able to get guys involved in the action, especially their good players, because when you have a guy like Jarren Duran on the team who's as versatile as he is, you want to make sure that you're getting a guy like that into the games, because he's going to be a difference maker for you if that's the case. And you don't want to take away at bats from him and risk losing games because of that. So the pro would absolutely be you get a lot of different guys into the mix, and you can kind of be flexible and play around with it based on what the pitching matchup is and based on what you see giving you the best chance to win that game. So in that sense of the word, that's definitely a good problem to have, is you have more than one player who could DH on any given night. And if you want to be able to get them all into games, then you rotate through for sure. Now, the downside to that is that the constant rotation could create some uncertainty, and it could create difficulty for any of them to establish themselves as lineup anchors. Because if you're getting into this rhythm of DHing and that's your pattern, you're kind of getting used to that and you're adapting to a routine of prepping to DH that day. Whereas then if you aren't playing for a couple days because somebody else is DHing on those days, and then you come back in again to DH every third or fourth day, that could really throw off your rhythm and make you not as effective if you're removed from it for a couple days and then you're coming back to DH again. So that's a downside to that, is the less that these guys are DHing, the more risk there is of them not finding their rhythm and them not being able to utilize that position effectively. So it could also potentially, I don't think this would happen, but potentially it could also diminish clubhouse morale. That is another aspect of this that could be a downside, is if it leads to uncertainty and people are confused, and then therefore the overall clubhouse vibe goes down. Alex Cora is really good about maintaining a positive culture in this Red Sox clubhouse. So I would hope that that part of this wouldn't happen. But when you have more than one player who's vying for time in multiple areas, sometimes you do have to make those types of decisions and say, okay, we want the flexibility of having more than one player that can DH or more than one player that can play left field. And then if somebody gets hurt, then we can slot guys in easily. So for example, say Roman Anthony were to get hurt. Hope that doesn't happen. Obviously cannot afford to lose him, but thinking worst case scenario here, if Roman were to go down and he was going to miss a couple months with an injury, then there's an obvious solution of saying, okay, now we're going to have Jarren Duran play left field every day with Yoshida as our DH every day. And then when Roman comes back, we can kind of go back to what we were doing before. So that is a scenario in which it's easy to then bring guys in to fill in those roles if somebody does get injured, which is something that I have emphasized on this show a lot this offseason, is that depth that the Red Sox have created and the options that they have given themselves, because they don't have to be locked into any one thing. And if something's not working, they have the opportunity to change it. And if something is working, they can keep things the way that they are. But it's an opportunity for the Red Sox to be able to feel like they're maximizing their roster as best as they can. So is it a bad thing for them to have a rotating DH? No. Are there consequences potentially that could come up to it? Yes, but I definitely see the flexibility with it. And the thing that I would say with it is if somebody gets red hot, like say they have Yoshida alternating through the DH role with some of these outfielders, but then he's hitting really well, then the Red Sox might have to make a decision of, okay, we're better off as a team when he's out there because he's carrying our offense right now. So with him being on this hot streak, we should keep him in that role. And that might take some at-bats away from a guy like Jarren Duran, who does have that versatility that Masa doesn't. So there are a lot of things that could be maneuvered with this, and I definitely don't think we'll see the same definitive setup for this all season long. I think a lot of it's going to depend on matchup and what they kind of need that day and what they're prioritizing that day in terms of what they want to get out of that game. So it's definitely not a bad problem to have. There's a lot of talent on this team, and there's a lot of different things they could do with it, but we just have to be understanding of the fact that there are good and bad reasons for having a rotating DH and not one fixed player who's always the guy who's getting reps in that role. So we'll have to see how that goes for the Red Sox, and if it ends up being a situation that works out for them, because it could end up working really well, or it could not. We just have to hope for the best and hope that it does work out. So we'll see how that goes. But coming up, I'm going to be going over the Red Sox Spring Breakout roster. This week's MLB Top 100 highlight is brought to you by MLB The Show 26, the latest from the beloved video game franchise. Each week, we're highlighting the stars of MLB's top 100 players list, the elite names you'll be controlling, building around, and going head-to-head with in MLB The Show. Today, we choose to spotlight several different Red Sox players, and you can look at where they're at on MLB's top 100 list. Garrett Crochet, for example, ranked number 8 in MLB's top 100, and he's just such a strong pitcher. And while I admire him not playing in the World Baseball Classic because he wants to focus on the season, I also wish we could see more Garrett Crochet. He's just been everything that the Red Sox need and more. If you're a Red Sox fan, this is definitely the guy that you build your franchise around. And in the show, you can do exactly that. With the World Baseball Classic also being back, you can take on actual World Baseball Classic teams from all over the world with your Diamond Dynasty team. So that's pretty cool. That's this week's MLB Top 100 highlight presented by MLB The Show 26, where you can play, manage, and build with your favorite players and teams. If you love talking baseball, you'll love playing it even more. Visit MLBThe.show/lockedon and use code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Super fun, right? I highly recommend that you check that out. Also, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on any podcast platform so that you get all of the latest with this show. I will be joined next week by Alex Spear of the Boston Globe, where we will be breaking down the Red Sox offseason, talking a little bit of spring training, and looking ahead to the upcoming season. So you definitely won't want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and catch daily shows. Also, follow me on social media at Gabby Maljanian on Twitter, at Gabby_Maljanian10 on Instagram. And you can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox so that you won't feel like you are missing a beat when it comes to Red Sox content. So make sure that you follow me on social media and keep subscribing to the show and tuning in every day. So close to opening day. I cannot wait to see how things play out for this Boston Red Sox team. And obviously, people have a lot of thoughts on this team, rightfully so. It makes sense. You want to feel confident in this team's ability to perform at a high level. And I definitely am looking forward to a lot of aspects of this team, but there are also questions that I have going into the season as well. And I talked about some of those question marks on today's show. Is Aroldis Chapman going to be as dominant as he was in 2025? Is the rotating DH spot going to cause some problems for this team? But as we think about the Major League roster, we're also thinking about how exciting it is that the Red Sox have a lot of up-and-coming talent, because one of the biggest storylines about this team over the last few years has been enhancing the farm system, collecting a lot of young talent that can either contribute to the team in the long term or be used as a trade piece down the road. And the Red Sox definitely have a lot of exciting young talent. And the player pool for their spring breakout game was released. So what exactly is spring breakout? So in 2026, MLB Spring Breakout will again be a 4-day event showcasing baseball's future, essentially the current stars of minor league baseball, in 16 exhibition games played between teams comprised of each MLB organization's top prospects. The third edition will be held from March 19th to 22nd at Grapefruit and Cactus League stadiums during spring training. So it's essentially a chance for a lot of the young talent to showcase what they can do. In the 2024 Prospect Showcase played at JetBlue Park, Cedar Rafaela actually belted a 3-run homer and made a great play in center field. And then less than 2 weeks later, he broke camp as Boston's starting center fielder. So obviously it feels like the players that'll be on the Major League roster are pretty set, but that's a good example of a player who proved himself a lot during spring breakout and put the Red Sox on notice and was able to earn his spot on the opening day roster. And then last year, under the lights in Port Charlotte against the Rays, the men who made up Boston's big three group of prospects in Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell all homered, and then all three of them made their major league debuts during the 2025 season. And Roman is now viewed as a potential all-star going into this season. So this will be fun. And the question is now, what does Boston's next wave of prospects have in store at this year's spring breakout game against the best of the Orioles farm system? So On March 20th, many of the Red Sox top prospects, as ranked by MLB Pipeline, will make the trip to Sarasota, Florida for a 6:05 p.m. game against the Orioles. And it's going to be really exciting to watch some of these guys. MLB Pipeline's number 31 prospect, Red Sox number 2, Franklin Arias, turned heads in his first start of the spring on March 2nd when he made a flip throw out of his glove to second base to start a double play. Arias is a smooth defender at short, and the Red Sox are hoping the 20-year-old's bat catches up as he continues to grow into his body. So he's an exciting prospect to watch. And in that same road game against the Blue Jays, number 6 prospect Justin Gonzales, who manager Alex Cora said is built like an NFL tight end, hit a 117.3 mile per hour single to left and made a 98.1 mile per hour throw from right field to third base on the fly and with perfect accuracy. Gonzales is just 19, but it's hard for Red Sox evaluators not to be excited about his tools. There's also switch hitting shortstop Dorian Soto, who's the prize signing out of the Dominican Republic from the 2025 international class, who projects as someone who can hit for power from both sides of the plate. So some exciting position players there to look out for, and also some notable pitchers. After years of having a farm system built around top position players, the Red Sox have shifted gears under Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow and have truly bolstered their pitching in recent drafts. There's righty fireballer Kyson Witherspoon, who's exciting to watch, the team's top draft pick from last season. He had a standout career at Oklahoma and could rise quickly through the farm system. Marcus Phillips out of Tennessee and Anthony Ianson out of LSU pitched in the same Southeastern Conference as Witherspoon did. So that trio has already formed a strong bond. Definitely guys to look out for. Then on the international side, righty Juan Valera, who was signed out of the DR for just $45,000 in 2023, has a lot of upside and is ranked number 5 in the Red Sox farm system. He's only 19, but his fastball has already touched 100 and hits in the upper 90s. So lots to be excited about with the Red Sox on the pitching side. So to accommodate the player movement involved with the World Baseball Classic and to create greater flexibility for clubs and farm directors, spring breakout rosters are being constructed in 2 phases in 2026. Clubs initially submit a preliminary 40-man player pool on the team that they want to have in there. And then that will be paired down to the official 23 to 27 man rosters on March 18th. So that's essentially how that process works. And the preliminary 40-man player pools consist of the team's top 30 prospects as determined by MLB Pipeline, minus any injured players on a Dominican Summer League roster, or players on the 40-man roster who have elected not to participate. The pools also include 10 or more additional unranked prospects submitted by the club to replace the above-ranked prospects who are not participating. So when it comes to the preliminary 40-man player pool for the Red Sox on the top 30 prospects list, there's 18 pitchers. Right-handed pitcher Cooper Adams, left-handed pitcher Jake Bennett, who we have seen a little bit in spring training so far, right-handed pitcher Alex Bouchard, right-handed pitcher Sadbiel Delzini, right-handed pitcher Austin Ehrlicher, right-handed pitcher Anthony Ianson, who I mentioned earlier, right-handed pitcher Leighton Finley, right-handed pitcher John Holubetz, right-handed pitcher Jacob Myers, left-handed pitcher Hayden Mullins, right-handed pitcher Marcus Phillips, left-handed pitcher Eduardo Rivera, right-handed pitcher Rady Sena, right-handed pitcher Brady Tiger, right-handed pitcher Tyler Uberstein, who we have also seen in spring training, right-handed pitcher Juan Valera, who I mentioned, right-handed pitcher Kyson Witherspoon, and right-handed pitcher Gage Zeal. So those are the pitchers on that list. 4 catchers in Nate Baez, Joanfran Garcia, Franklin Primera, and Gerardo Rodriguez. The Red Sox definitely did add a lot of catching depth to their system this offseason, so that's definitely another storyline to look out for here. 11 infielders in Marvin Alcantara, infielder, shortstop Franklin Arias, infielder Josue Brito, second baseman Yoel Cespedes, infielder Fraley Encarnacion, second baseman Henry Godbout, infielder Anbram Liendo, shortstop Hector Ramos, infielder Mikey Romero, shortstop Dorian Soto, and infielder Mason White. 7 outfielders that round out that list in outfielder Endy Azokar, outfielder Miguel Blaze, outfielder Alan Castro, outfielder Anderson Furman, outfielder Justin Gonzales, outfielder Harold Rivas, and outfielder Nelly Taylor. So that's essentially the 40-man list. All of that's eventually going to be narrowed down here in the next couple weeks. And while you may not recognize all these names, that is totally okay. Spring Breakout is the opportunity for you to learn a lot more about some of the prospects in the Red Sox system. Definitely some exciting players to look out for. And I'm really excited myself to see how they look on a bigger stage. So we'll have to see how that all goes. But thanks so much, as always, for tuning into the show. Continue to subscribe so you don't miss anything and you get all the latest episodes. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonredsox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, I send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.